Dubs, can you hear me loud and clear?
Yeah, I can hear you. You can hear me correctly?
Perfectly. Right. Let's see if we can get the Mog on on the stage here. Um, Veggies wants to come up. Should he be on
Yeah,
stage? Yeah, Veggies should be on
yeah,
stage.
sure.
Lovely. We'll try to get Mog up here in a second. His hand is raised, but he's not on.
He is.
Hello.
Good evening. The
Good
world
evening.
may burn around this novelty search, but
The adults are fighting. Um, uh, no infighting here, though. We're all good vibes.
yep,
None of us are in the Jeffrey Epstein files, as far as I know.
confirmed. I don't know
Confirm.
about the audience, and no one on stage.
So therefore, nothing to fight about, and nothing to release, except of course Hippius, which is I think happy news and good news. Let's talk about this subnet. Mog, you asked me to do the intro, so I'll step back into the back seats here and leave you to it.
Thank you. I only asked to do the intro so that I don't take over or leave Dubs to do the presentation. But in a similar vein to video, and possibly given the stress levels and the increased amount of white hair I now have, but never again, this subnet came. Well, there's a little bit of history behind it. As many of you will know, Dubs was working, or is still working, but his primary role in sort of coming into the BitTensor ecosystem was the role I called Chief Architect at Taustats. Essentially someone who knows a hell of a lot more about infrastructure than myself at a time when, well, I'm not going to go into Taustats history, but at a time when Taustats really needed that role filled, to which he stepped up incredibly. On a side note, decentralized storage has always been a passion of mine from early crypto investment days and also into BitTensor. I followed the early storage subnets, their rise and fall, and was often very critical of them to their owners for very simple things like there's no product, I can't upload files and use files. You know, having used storage my whole life as a web developer, having
Do you know who?
followed.
I was actually the first person to make a storage subnet on BitTensor.
Did it work?
Nope, nope, it
Okay.
failed horribly. I only half made it though. I had an idea for how it could be done. I gave it off to a developer, and they took it and ran with it because it was my idea, and ran into a dead end, and in the end they gave up.
Yeah.
It's not an easy task. And then of course there's the file tau fiasco.
It's not an easy task to implement, but it is an easy product to understand from an end user point of view on what you need from it. We've all used Dropbox, we've all used AWS, we've all used Google Cloud. I was always a big believer in using Nextcloud or own cloud over Dropbox. So we understand this need to have storage, and then also this urge to move towards decentralized storage. And then as validators and potentially subnet owners, we will pay huge amounts of fees to weights and biases, not Hugging Face, but using huge amounts of data. And as things evolve, the amount of data that we're required, and I think subnets like 404 with their huge 40 terabyte data set will attest to, storage is needed. And it's just always been a passion of mine. I remember following Storage, Stratos, and a bunch of other early blockchain products. And then on the sideline to this, and we started speaking about this, Jacob, you and I, or I spoke to you about it, and we had seen it on the horizon. There were murmurings of people saying we're going to build a subnet with a blockchain, to which we were obviously quite concerned. The initial concern is that value incentive will be taken away from the chain and funneled into secondary tokens. Yet at the same time, I think we both understood that there was some potential in there if it was done right. I think I probably pushed it more than you. You were probably more concerned as to how it may go wrong. But I really felt that there was more that could be added to BitTensor that potentially the native chain wouldn't initially support in terms of complexity of incentive mechanism, reward mechanism. And so I was very interested by this. And in talks with my team internally about different ideas for subnets that we were often having, it just so turned out that this guy, and this is a recurring story because this is the same way Namare came into the fold, this random guy that I found with a shitty profile on Upwork, and honestly I'm not going to dox him, but I should screen grab both Dubs and Namare's initial Upwork profiles, turned out to be these hidden gems with this wealth of knowledge that was incredibly applicable to the field in which they found themselves. And Mr. Dubs has a wealth of knowledge across multiple chains, but specifically Substrate. And then, little did I know, specializing in decentralized storage across a number of different previous projects. And something you'll learn with Dubs, and I've learned with Dubs, he just is one of those people who's like, yeah, I can do that, and goes away and does it. And often, to his credit, but not always to my tolerance of patience, does it really, really well and takes quite a long time to do it, but does it properly to a level that, that we're not always used to seeing within this ecosystem, which obviously when we're saying, I want a product now, I want this out, why is this taking so long, can be frustrating. But I think as the course of this presentation goes on, and I'm going to hand over to Dubs, you'll realize actually it's something that we really, really need. And I think he just needed someone who spoke his language, and I don't just mean that linguistically, but also from sort of an understanding of deploying within crypto, and he's not. I would say one thing about Dubs is he's not traditionally a crypto bro, and I think deploying on BitTensor allowed Dubs to rise to this role of building this fantastic subnet, at which point I'm going to hand over to him, without the negatives that I think would steered him away from a traditional crypto project background. So with no delay, Dubs, I'm going to hand over to you. I think I'm going to do the slides and share my screen so that you can talk and I can't get distracted. So.
Yeah, please, because I rely on poor internet bandwidth. So.
Okay, I'm going to keep it like that, and then I can actually use the rest of my screen. So there we go. Can you all see that? Can you all see my screen?
Yep, it's good for me. So first of all, thank you very much. Thank you very much to having me on stage and get this opportunity to present the subnet. Really pleased. So about myself, yeah, I'm developing on Substrate. I love developing, creating real solution for a real problem, and not creating a problem for a solution. So sometimes, yeah, not to explain. So if you need some more from me, I can explain better. But basically, yeah, I'm passionate about blockchain. I'm passionate about decentralization. I know that decentralization needs steps, but the goal is really that. Decentralization is not only for the end, but allow really a lot of cool stuff. That was the original idea of, well, when they created the crypto somehow. We are in for the tech. I'm this kind of guy. I'm in for the tech because I love it. And yeah, so that's what I try to do with the subnets and the team, and also the opportunity that, yeah, meeting Morgan and all the BitTensor ecosystem. So yeah, here you can see briefly what we will be talking about. It's mostly for the slide, and I will not take long on it, but basically we will go over the journey of Hippius, why we did Hippius, how we did it, what we developed around that, and also a little demo moment. Hopefully everything will work as planned. and not like an Elon Musk demonstration of a car. So yeah, Mog, you can make the next one. So basically, yeah, we come to a solution to a point where I really fell in love with the idea of BitTensor, and what they are doing with the decentralization. Oh, the slide just dropped. Hello?
You're still there.
Oops.
We lost Mog
Yeah,
though. Do you want to
that
take
will
over
wait a
the?
bit.
Uh-oh. Maybe he's. Uh, perhaps he's coming back now.
Yeah, I think so.
But go on with your story, Dubs. I mean, I think you can continue even without the slides. I mean, you speak with so much passion.
He asked him to bring on stage. Mug is yeah. Thank you. Cool. Mug, you here? Good.
Get the man back. There we go.
So yeah, basically, I wanted to bring a solution for BitTensor for the storage, because I would say the main target is offering something for BitTensor, because all the subnets, the people here are developing intelligence on BitTensor. Amazing product, amazing stuff, but all of that needs storage, because they're still using centralized storage like Amazon, Google, whatever, Cloudflare now. So basically, you produce decentralized AI with decentralized compute, but the missing bit is the storage. And we know that data is the new gold, and storage demand is still increasing. And yeah, we are to try to support that demand, and create a solution for BitTensor, and not BitTensor adapting to an existing solution. That's what we want to do. So we put together a team. We have few team members that I worked with in the past that are here. You see face that you know already, like Radu was working on Corcel, and Mog bring him on stage, which is really a good thing because he has an extensive knowledge of BitTensor too. And yeah, really pleased to work with all two guys from the BitTensor ecosystem. And Akine Shinaza, you did see it maybe last week on the VDIO presentation. We made some UI UX with the rest of the team. So yeah, first of all, thank you all the team for working so hard every day to make this project possible. So a bit of the market situation. This is kind of the classic storage presentation, I would say. Speaking centralization, which is the main actor, is we clearly see that the storage demand is there, but I'm not really interested by those numbers, which is cool still if we can fill that demand. But as I said, the main target is filling the gap with BitTensor and BitTensor subnets. So yeah, we can clearly see that that there is a big demand everywhere in the world with emerging tech, everyone fighting for everything. But that also means we can distribute the storage over the world, and that also means we can distribute the model of AI, which means we really are able to decentralize the intelligence on the storage node. So here we are. We came with a solution where we needed something really obvious, really transparent, something we can build in step, but something also that we want to use standard tools. So developer, I use it to SDK, Python here mainly. That's why we have a Python SDK. They are used to do all the standard tool, but what they don't have is traceability. basically be able to track everything. So we developed two stuff. We are built on the blockchains first, where we can track everything. The CID. We use the IPFS technology. Yeah, some slide, please. So we use two main stuff. The IPFS, which is where we are storing everything. We use that as underlying technology. And we also bring, on top of that, the S3 API, which is standard on every main subnet here, because, well, it's easy to use. You just plug in the credential, and it's how it works. Hopefully, I'm going too fast. Yeah, so IPFS is whoops. Yeah, IPFS was a technology that is there for a few times. That's proven track records, but pain to use because IPFS content disappear. It's where we came with the solution for that using the blockchain. Yeah. Okay. Next slide. Sorry. Yeah. So we have main advantage. This one is decentralized storage versus decentralized storage. Cost, we know all stuff. The cost, which is pretty high on centralized storage, where you never know where you go, and it's slow because you rely on one provider. For example, if you use Cloudflare 2, last time we used it, it was 100 megabytes bandwidth, so price is really good, but the bandwidth is really slow, which is not so good. Poor security because you don't know where are your data, how they are. You basically trust the provider. So same thing with the scalability. You rely on the provider, hopefully that they will scale correctly. Yeah, Google and so on have money to scale, but they don't have the expertise of the BitTensor miners. And that's really where BitTensor is also shining, because on our side, with all the miners on BitTensor, we did have a big journey on that that we will talk about later. But mainly, yeah, the miner on BitTensor are awesome because we have made some groups with them and so on, and the advice they provided, the insight, give us the ability to improve our solution from the start. Yeah.
What's an example of that in practice, Dubs? Like where the miners helped you improve?
Well, some miners were part of, without doxing them, of the Storgy of the Filecoin Foundation. So they give us really good advice of how to optimize the IPFS and so on. The other miners were providing insight of how we could optimize the distribution, also how they were using the server, what they get back on the usage, and helping us improve the mechanism of distribution for all those stuff. Also, some were really honest and disclosed some possible abuse, which helped us to fix that pretty fast. And yeah, because I mean, we are a team, but we are like 10 people facing all. But when we get the miner on board like this, it's like I have a saying for that is stronger together. It's really like that, because when the miners start to give insight, to give help, it really helps to improve the product, because it's on their advantage, because everything is more stable for them, but it's more stable for us. So it's more stable for the people using the product.
This is something that a lot of teams need to learn. And the teams that are most successful so far I've seen in BitTensor are those that really work with their mining community. Once you realize that 41% of the equity of your network, in some sense, is going towards this secondary group, if you're not working with them, you're just losing out on one of the most performant aspects of your network. And so it's incredibly that's occurring. I mean, I've seen that really well on shoots. I think we definitely see it on subnets like Templar. I've really built amazing communities, and so it's awesome to see that you're doing the same thing on Hippius. Can we go back a slide though? I just have a question about some of like the core technical innovations. So one of them is like low cost of data storage, centralized versus decentralized, and like this is obvious, right? Because you can access storage capacity that centralized providers can't, and you have access to the ocean of availability when it comes to the actual raw commodity that they don't have access to, and so you can push down costs and maybe a whole a whole factor, right? You can trim off a zero in terms of cost. Is that fair to say?
Well, yeah, we have the intelligence to, I mean, with the miners, not we, us, but the miner have the intelligence to reduce the cost, to optimize and everything. And yeah, that's fair to say. And that's what I was on with BitTensor. I was, to be honest, impressed by the mining community, which is doing really well for that.
The second point here is also data transfer speed, and it was my impression that it was actually the other way around, that a centralized provider using CDNs and load balancers could provide you higher transfer speed. But you're saying that decentralized storage can be faster, and like how can that be? Given the fact that maybe the miners don't have access to the same internet connections, they're not on data centers wired into the web this in the same places. Like how can you make that second point, fast data transfer speed? And where does that come from?
So it's pretty simple because a centralized provider have, I would make it a schema, but they have one cable. Uh, when you access decentralized resources, you have a lot of cable. So that's where we will lead on the next iteration, like I discussed it with you, is creating a lot of decentralized gateway. That means you can access all that resource at the same time, and the only limit would be your cable. Is your cable big enough to receive all the data?
So so
That's
that means,
where.
but surely that if one person is storing a file and they've got one cable and I've got one cable, and so it's necessarily limited by the cable strength on either side of that connection, or are you suggesting that the way to use decentralized storage is to split files, um, to shard them across multiple nodes, and then your download speed can be the speed of all those connections?
That's what we did in the SDK. We basically make a simple command to make erasure coding. Erasure coding is splitting your files on small parts, so they can be distributed among a lot of miners. Because uploading just a file of multiple terabytes, okay, but if you split that file on multiple miners, and each files have 5 replica, that means each chunk is distributed to at least 5 miners. And depending how you split your files on chunk, on the algorithm you use, we have parameter for that in the SDK and the CLI. You can split over more miners and splitting it in small parts. So yeah, you don't just access one miners, but you access all those miners together, where you can request the file where it's the faster.
So just as an example of how that might work. So like let's say that we're like looking at um, subnet 3 on BitTensor, and they do a lot of uploading of gradients to S3. They use S3 specifically for the reasons that you mentioned. Like it's easy to use and it's standardized and it just works. It's also very fast. They have CDNs. They do a lot of tricks in the background to get high speed. And in fact, S3 claims to have unlimited bandwidth on their buckets. Of course, that's actually not true. They do begin to at least in R2 they begin to uh, blacklist you and throttle your connections after a certain amount of ingress. So with Hippias, would it be possible? In fact, would it be easy for miners on that network to shard their gradients, replicate them across this network, have the exact same upload speed as you would to say S3, but then when people are downloading, they can download with much more bandwidth compared to a system like S3. Is that where you're making this argument?
Yeah, because for example, R2 is a good example. They claim to be free egress because that's a part where we come later. But all the provider have extensive egress, so you can upload your data, but you cannot consume it because it costs you a leg and a half. But that's another point. Still, R2 is limiting on 100 megabyte, I think, if
Mhm.
I'm not wrong. So yeah, splitting with all that miner, you have access to every miner. The way we will do it is in the blockchain. You will have access to the data of each miners. I will explain that a bit later. But basically, you will have access to the gateway of each miners, where you can make your own Asha proxy if you want to get everything load balanced and use all of that with your product.
And that's just a matter of putting more Hippias tokens into the call. You can scatter it and improve the bandwidth and the replication, I
Yeah,
suppose.
replication for now, we make it standard because I see a question in the chat. We make it standard to 5 replica because we need to understand how the network go, how the miners are reliable, and everything. So with 5 replica, we are pretty safe. If a miner is dereg and so on, we reschedule the file under the miners with the help of the blockchain. But yeah, basically that's a standard cost. You pay for the storage and you have out of the box 5 replica. Then you will are able to get more bandwidth and so on. But for now, it's the egress cost is free.
So I mean, I hope I'm not like completely derailing this presentation. It's just it's worthwhile going through this list because I think each one of those items in the previous slide is worthy of a full 10-minute conversation. You have security of scalability. We've spoken about scalability. Um, um, what do you mean by autonomy and security?
Security because you are in an open network. So sometimes people say, "Hey, did you do an audit?" I would say the best audit is put your product outside and let the miner abuse it. That's the best audit you can have. I think I'm not the only one to think like that because it's true. They earn money, but they want to earn it for free, and they want to optimize too. So we have all kind of actor, and the product is constantly beta tested. So that's where the security is coming from. When you do on a centralized provider like Google, like Amazon, you not hope, but you trust them. You trust them. You don't have any access to the product. You just upload your files and you say, okay, it's encrypted, and it's this, it's that, but you don't know. You cannot go in the data center because that's the only thing. Here, everything is open, is there, and yeah, it's battle tested. The autonomy is basically the system is autonomous because we have multiple provider. We don't depend from one person. The goal of Hippius at the end of the day is to be able to release it in, I would not say in the wild, but not needing anyone to run it because that's where the power of decentralized storage is no one can take it down really, but the community can drive it because it's important too. we don't want to have like files uploaded and so on. Some people asked me why we put like ban in the chain, but we have a list of files that are bad files, I would say, where we put that in chain and it's like automatically unable to get pinned.
How do you do that?
So get
Like,
pinned.
so I mean, I guess in like CSAM continent and things like this, how do
Yeah.
you detect that, and how does the chain, how does an autonomous network deal with the detection of harmful content?
So you have already few communities working around with that. There is artificial intelligence that are made also for that. For the moment, we rely on CSAM content that is officially detected. So the gateway cannot serve it, and the validator will not pin it. So
Is it a matter of
it's
is it a is it
sorry.
is it a matter where the validators on BitTensor can decide what files get pinned?
No, it's basically the network can decide that. The network can decide that, and we can leverage the power of all the miners in the community to. That's the next goal. When we are more safe, I would say we're more stable. Sorry, is to be able to use that community power to detect all those files and to advertise in the chain. And this way they can all stop it, because still it's decentralized storage, and everyone can serve content if they think they should. But it's like any AVM blockchain where they deploy a contract, but you don't control what is in the contract. That's the same thing. You prevent it. You put safeguard. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's cat and mouse game, and we do our best to be the best cat.
Thanks, Stubbs.
Yeah, so we talked a lot already of that. So basically, we choose a blockchain. We are on a dependent blockchain. When I say independent, is like Morgan introduced it. We don't have the will to make a token. We don't have. We are not interested with Dish and stuff like this, and that's why we were really careful with that. But the blockchain is still a wonderful technology. Misuse it a lot, but it's a wonderful technology where everything is open, transparent, and you can track everything in the blockchain. So that's why we use it that.
So just a question here.
Yeah.
Hippius subnet has a separate substrate chain in the background, and the validators on BitTensor are watching that chain for confirmations, etc. They're using the truth discovery, the verification that's arising on that chain, to set weights on BitTensor. Is that correct? What does this chain do?
Yeah,
Like,
but it is.
take us. Mhm.
No, go ahead.
No, that's it. Tell us more about how this chain actually plugs into the incentive landscape.
So the chain is where everything is happening. The chain is really that's the name of this the repo still, the brain. Validator is running validator of that chain. This chain is governed by bid mechanism, where it's trustless, basically. So we put a rule in there where any validator in BitTensor can run a node, run a validator node of the chain, and become a block producer of the chain. So that means they take the data from BitTensor with a miner, with not a miner, and that's allow people to register in the chain, miners. I think we have a slide on that. Yeah.
I'm trying my best to move the slides around to Const's narrative rather than the one we carefully weaved out. It's fine. We had some pricing discussions that you brought up before that I thought we were going to get to. Now we've gone on to will you trust us, Jacob, that we know what you want to hear and we've planned out in an order and not throw that off completely and just let him get through the slides?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
No, it's
I
okay. It's
tackle.
okay.
Do you want
It's
to
a
do the
slide
pricing part
19, I
first, Doug,
think.
and then come back to the blockchain, or you want to go straight onto the blockchain?
We can continue to the blockchain and go to the price after that. It's okay. So yeah, basically the blockchain is there to manage everything, and we needed a way to really make stuff transparent, like explain it. If everyone is running his own database, you have to trust them. You say, okay, you run the database. Here is the data of your miners. Here is your incentive. But there is a moment of point where is my data? How can I track it without asking? And that's where the power of the blockchain is. You don't need anyone. You can just download the Hippius node, run the node, and sync the blockchain yourself and see the chain. You cannot alter a blockchain. So that's really the point of the blockchain. If you want to make a decentralized storage transparent, you need a way to store that data and to show it transparently. And the blockchain is the reply of that. So validator will run that's blockchain nodes, and then with all the data of the miners where the incentive are, well, the scoring are reported to that blockchain, you can exactly see who report what and when you got something as a miner in the chain at which moment, and then the validator just kind of funnel that to BitTensor to make the power and the magic of BitTensor in action. So basically, the blockchain is the brain, transparency of everything, and making stuff transparent. And if you want to make things running alone, you cannot rely on Postgres cluster. Is that okay? Hello?
Yeah, looks good to me.
I think he's scared to respond now.
Yeah, I got in trouble with asking too many questions, so I'm just letting you guys get through your slides. Then I'll berate you again.
Dubs, do you want to keep with the blockchain part and then go back to price, or go back to price as you wish?
Yeah, let's just go to the next. We can do this slide, but we mostly talked about it already. Should I develop a bit more on this journey?
As you wish.
So, yeah, the journey of BitTensor was quite harsh. We faced the miner the hard way, but it was cool at the end of the day. Like I explained, it's a lot of abuse stuff. When you do a new subnet, remember the launch of people watching every new chain where they can put hash to insta-mine a block. It was kind of the sensation. But at the end of the day, it's a game, but it's a business too. And it pushed really forward to securize the incentive and fill all the hole you have in the abuse system. I would take it as a good how you say that, when you are thrown on a lion arena, you have to defend yourself, but you have to prove your product will work. You have to prove everything will be okay, and that's a good way also to battle test everything. You feel way more comfortable releasing a product when everything is a lot tested and audited by the miner community, I would say. So then we fixed that. We worked a lot.
Can I
Yeah,
can I can I ask a question about proof of stored data and miner uptime? That this transition that you did, which is I think like the fifth point. Are you going to go into that later in the slides, or can I dig in here, Mog, and ask questions?
we can go later, but you can go ahead. Let's keep the conversation. It's okay.
Um,
I feel more
um,
comfortable like this anyway than reading slides.
yeah, I mean, because like the core of a storage subnet is going to be proof that the miner did something like store a file and had it there for a while that you could access it at any time. That's really the gist of it. No, like it's the very center. That's the gooey ooey center of it. Um, and so maybe one way that you could do that with a miner is ask them to send you a hash of the data. Is that the leap off point here for how proof of stored data works, or tell us more? Like what is the core of this incentive mechanism?
So I will explain that later with a demonstration because we build an explorer around the blockchain where you can track your file, where the file is, where the file go, when the miner is down, and when the file is executed on another miners. So that's where IPFS technology is pretty cool because you can when you upload something to IPFS, you have a CID, which is the hash. If you change the address file, so first, that's mean you have versioning of the out of the box. It's something painful because you say, okay, I want to open the document and upload it again. I have to upload it again and delete it. But well, it's just UX. We make it happen. Um, but the thing is, with that, you can track your file. Where is your file? So the whole network is able to do it. No validator do it. But you would say, okay, you will ask the miner to request the file, but how can you prove this miner doesn't have like incentive for 10 miners and just hosting one file? But within in the blockchain, you have to register your IPFS node with this unique. If you run multiple on the network, you will have clash. And IPFS also kept the files in block, I would say. So how we prove that the miner is hosting the file? We just not ask, can you tell me if you have this file? So we start to download a bit. You have just to have few bits to download, and yeah, you're good. Now, what we do is we how do you say we test that miners with his PRID, and we request random block of that file. So it's impossible to predict which block the validator will request on that file. And yeah, that's where the technology is cool because
This is
you can have. Sorry.
these blocks these are not chain blocks. These are not blockchain blocks that you're asking. You're talking about specific small chunks of the data, like blocks of the data.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
And I'm gonna say, hey, like, hey, give me block 500,333, and you'll send me that small chunk. And does that mean that the validator has to maintain that chunk on their side? How do they know what the actual chunk is supposed to be?
Because you
block.
are dealing with DHT and the Merkle tree. So basically, you can calculate the block, the position of that block, and the hash of that block too. So you don't have to host all the files because that will means you fake the algorithm somehow by saying, okay, I host the file. If the miner doesn't have it, well, he will keep it back. But this way, no, you don't need to host the file at all.
Right, and that's really interesting. So that's what IPFS, the Merkle-DAG technology allows you to have, which is I can hold the root of the Merkle-DAG, or just one hash, correct, and or certain hashes, of that DAG, and that will allow me to check smaller blocks without having to hold the full file, right?
Yeah.
And does so IPFS is a big part of this. Is it takes care of the Merkle DAG structure for these files. Am I right?
Yeah, well, PFS has a long story on that, and yeah, the technology is proven of that. So that's the way they work. It's not always the most efficient, but it's always the same how we use the technology. And for us, we use it like that, which allow us to not reinvent the wheel still. So that's the first point of using IPFS2, because it's reliable, and as you said, we can use this technology to proof our miners. So we also use the way to ping the miners with that PRID, that where we can really see if the miner is online too. Is that replying to your question?
How do you stop a miner from simply asking for the data from another miner?
Why you would stop it?
Well, I suppose uh, one miner simply stores it on Hippius itself. A relay attack of sorts.
There is some mechanism in that, but that's the nature of peer-to-peer network too, because if a miner can request file between miners, that means if a miner is down, he can request file from other miner, or chunk, or blocks from the other miners to get back the replica online when he has assigned to the replica. So that's the nature of the peer-to-peer network itself, and that's where the miner secure their stuff. But basically, that's how a PFS is working too, because you have to be able to request file and not block it. Because, for example, if you want to, or any subnet want to run their own stuff, their own IPFS node, they can run an IPFS node locally, upload the models to their own nodes, and distribute it to the network, and just use IPS for pinning stuff.
Understood.
Okay. So where we lead now?
I was going to say, should we look at the pricing model?
Mark, why don't you interject?
Well, there's a couple of things to cover. One is the pricing model, but also, if we're still on the blockchain, is to look at the reasons for using BAPE and potentially explain that if you haven't already. So we can either go for BAPE and registration, or onto pricing models, as you wish, Dubs.
BAPE, we did it was decentralization, because BAPE allow validator to enter and in and out without controlling that. But I think we can go just to the next slide, where we can explain the registrations.
About the people have been asking about the chat about preservance of files, copies, duplications, and UID pressure. To which I replied about the ability for a miner to run multiple nodes, which I think this allows you to explain.
Yeah, so basically, because we cannot really limit, because we want to split the storage as much as possible and be able to grow. So we did this way. It's a bit the cold key, hot key models of BitTensor, but we use a proxy palette mainly. So this way, you have your UID on BitTensor that you register with your key. You create a proxy on Hippius, and then you keep your key safe. You don't have to put on you don't have to put this main key, I would say, your hot key of BitTensor become your cold key of Hippius. You don't put it on a server, because the server, you never know what happened, can be hacked, everything can happen. So you can basically create any amount of hotkey you want to distribute your server, and plug your server for multiple location. This way, everything is linked to your main key, and then device is calculated on the main key. So it's security and also releasing this UID pressure. Thank you. That's okay, Mo.
Wow, that's fascinating. Can you see
Thank
this
you.
working for other subnets as well? Is it just a Hippius blockchain solution? But like hypothetically, like could other subnets do this exact same thing if they wanted to release UID pressure?
Well, the idea also behind APS and the blockchain is to prove that a subnet can use a blockchain and integrated technology. So in an ideal world, we would like to release some kind of SDK that any subnet can use it, where we put the improvement and make like substrate is from Polkadot and Parity and so on, where we can all build on top of that and all contributing to this main SDK because it's really cool and it's how we improve stuff. So yeah, I think other subnet could use it. It's free to
Yes.
But
fork
this
anyway.
but this particular thing about releasing UID pressure,
We use the technology of blockchain for that, to controlling it. But yeah, you can do it with a database anyway, or anything else. And I think it's a need somehow to bring more power, because if we just limit to 256 server, it's really low for
It's
building a big stuff.
I'm going to jump in if may I? May I? Is it?
Yeah.
One of the things that we I pushed at the beginning was, you know, however this went, we needed to be treading a path and allowing people to look at things like you've just done and look at this and go, oh, that's cool. Could I use this for my subnet? Could we do that? And I remember saying to Dubs at the very beginning, you better make this something that people can fork and use and understand and improve on for the sake of Hippius, but also obviously for the sake of networking for themselves. And obviously, if you're touching on the part that using a blockchain, because of course you can release UID pressure in the way that something like Shoots does, that allows you, or Targon, that allows you to run an incredibly complex miner setup behind a single UID. I mean, that is what Targon is doing very well at the moment. But the difference with this is that each miner or each node essentially is in itself its own separate entity, and therefore its performance is trackable, immutable, slashable, rewardable, and scorable. So it gives you that granular breakdown, and that was one of the things. Whether you're using it for the setup and the distribution of nodes or minor entities, or whether you're using it for breaking down tasks or anything along that line, what the blockchain enabled you to do was just to have a much more complex, granular breakdown of information, where be it the distribution of miners or anything along those lines, that people can now look at for incentive mechanisms and say, oh, can I do that? Should I do this the best way? And I actually had a conversation with a subnet team this morning whose idea I won't dox, who are looking to do exactly that. And had this. Thankfully, were coming with the same narrative that they didn't want to dilute value with a secondary token, but their subnet design required a much higher throughput than they could ever put through on the native chain, and therefore using a secondary chain was a must. And they were very interested in learning from the trial and error and success of Hippius.
incredible. Would it make sense to build a bridge to this network?
I'll let Dub answer that.
Yeah. So yeah, it makes sense to build a bridge for this network, because the way we funnel we want to funnel the alpha inside that, we basically build a marketplace on top in Hippius. So what's mean is when the user will request storage, they will go to Hippius and interact with the chain. So they will pay there. with Alpha somehow. It's where we just have to put the UX on top of that to make it nice and to make it not crypto bro, but available for a lot of people, because we want to use Tau Alpha and of course normal payment system, but still everything in the marketplace where people pay for the product, pay for the storage, is at the end of the day would be autonomous, where they basically paid the exact amount of alpha it is for the dollar the cost. So they will buy credits. Credits is like $1, and one credit will have its value on alpha. So the user will block that in the marketplace palette on Hippius chain, which is the BitTensor alpha. And when that credit are consumed, because they use storage, they use compute, they use whatever stuff Hippius offer, it will be automatically distributed to the miners, to the participant of the network. So to the miners, to the validators, and well, we burn step, but still to the referral system that we put in place. I'm not sure where we go for that, but I mean, in this presentation, if I have to start it here, but or later, because there is business case around that. But yeah, the bridge would be a need. But with everything moving also fast in BitTensor, with everything, I need to check. We need to see also what's coming in the BitTensor Alpha ecosystem. If it will be like an RFT20 like. I remember we got a lot of conversation of that, and I really want to make, if we make some bridge, the best solution for now is Hyperlink. We have an EVM on the chain, so that's where we can just deploy it. But we need to make it really stable, and that's the goal. But I need to myself personally check how the development of BitTensor go, if we can use more tool out of the box from there, or maybe we'll create a palette or something. But yeah, that's mainly the goal, because this way it's completely independent, and every subnet could deploy also this kind of model where basically we don't touch any money and the user use the chain. If you want it to be decentralized and autonomous, you have to come with a consensus that works for that.
Thanks, Dubs.
Thank
Where
you.
would you like to go from here, Dubs? Pricing or demo?
What do you want to do? Pricing first?
We can just leave. Yeah,
Let's
we can come back to pricing, or we can look at it very quickly. Let's look at the pricing and get it out of the way, because it's bothering me that we never did. There you go.
So yeah, the pricing is very competitive, because we have the miners, as we discussed it with Const, where we can really optimize the cost and everything for that. So that's why we are nearly the cheapest on the decentralized storage, allowing us to offer a lot of storage for subnets. So yeah, it's really cheap, but still efficient. If you want to put a word in that, Mog.
So
No.
the competitors here are Google Cloud Storage and AWS. Are those fair competitors though? Like, aren't your competitors, Arweave and Filecoin, et cetera, et cetera?
As a developer, I think you've answered that question. What are the majority of subnets using? The only criticism I would say is R2 didn't make it into this, and they probably should have done as a price comparison. But no, because are there any subnets that are currently saying, hey, we're using Filecoin or Arweave and we want to move over to Hippius?
Right. I think that it would be also important to mention speeds comparisons between R2 and Google and AWS and S3 for those costs, because you claimed earlier that we can actually get faster speeds. And I did test this last week, if you remember, Dubs, and we were getting like 53 megs, but I didn't do a side by side comparison between R2 or S3 and Hippius. I was quite impressed though that we were able to get a consistent 43 megabits download speed from a file. I think it was a 100 meg file. Um, when we're looking at egress cost free, the comparable I guess would be R2 and uh, um, free, but what kind of speeds are we getting, and how do these numbers line up?
That's where the next part will come, and where we can score the miners on the egress they give, and if we point a point of the reward on that, we know that the miner will optimize as hell. So that would be for the next step to optimize that download, the download numbers. But getting like hundreds of megs, at least for miners, which are now a lot of miners are using 1 gig or 10 gig link, shouldn't be a big trouble. Just need to design it properly. But we were a bit like not stop it, but slow down with all the events happening. So that will be for the next step to put in place.
Also going into the pricing here, like if you don't mind, and Subnuts on BitTensor are really inventing how we do pricing models across the board, and there's a variety of different approaches and attempts. On the previous slide, Dubs, you have $3 per terabyte per day, I believe, per month. Yeah, and where is that number from? Is that you guys looking at the total storage capacity of the network and then dividing that by the emissions per that you're making per day, and are you arriving at that $3 term in that way, or are you arriving at that $3 term just by fiat, like we're going to charge $3, and if so, why not $2, or why not a hundredth of that?
We are not counting on the emission at this point to make a price. But actually, there is a lot of services in the decentralized storage offering competitive price, where first you have to adapt to the markets, but we need to grab people. We need to get people in. So it could show really low, a $3 tag per terabyte. But with the capacity we have now for the disk, it's something that's pretty good, I would say. So the main goal was to align to the competitor with that, and so as we put a price tag, make the miners aligning to that too, because 60% of that cost will go to the miners. So the main goal was to align to the price of the competitor, because first you don't have the choice still in the decentralized environment. But we wanted to get the most people on board with that too.
Understood. When we look at the actual statistics of the network, is there a way of us knowing how many terabytes we have out there?
Yeah, I will show you on the Explorer. You can see every node, the storage of every node, what they hold, what they are used, and you can also see everything. I can, let's say, try to share my screen now, maybe. Let's try to not break. Malga will need to take the hand on that because I cannot share my screen.
All yours.
Selection.
And your neighbour's lights is about to start dimming.
You can see we are in the past. So this is the network, basically. That's all the data we are indexing from the chain. That's where the power comes from too, where we are able to track everything. We still need to put some data in. We have to face some stuff also, like the DDoS attack, which was really cool, but that's kind of part of the thing. So here you can see every miner. So the goal is really to be 100% transparent when we do a subnet for storage. And my personal goal is really to be transparent and show the stuff that we do and yeah, be able to track everything, because don't trust, verify, isn't the saying? So you can go on the notes, check every notes. You can see this node, for example. You can see all the data of this node. Well, can go on many nodes.
Very cool.
We can see how we should, for example, optimize some stuff, because some nodes are run on the same data center. We still need some adjustment. Teammates have some work, but we still have only 24 hours a day, unfortunately. So yeah.
So this you're saying that potentially you guys could craft the incentive to push the network to be more decentralized, to have nodes in different places so that the service is better on average.
Exactly, because we have not the data to analyze everything. We need to adapt our solution to how the solution is used, because that's why we want to have something polished, because we need to have this data. So we're not pushing like we will sell you storage a lot. Want to use it? Come. We make free credits. Let's prove the data, prove the storage and everything, and let's analyze everything and let's make it correct. So yeah, with all that, we can see that we have region to fill. So we can push people to host node on those region. You would say, yeah, but okay, it's cool. I will run a server with a VPN. That could be true. Still, if you sell bandwidth, or you are rewarded on bandwidth, and your bandwidth is really slow, you will not get big incentive for that. So you kill them in the egg directly. So that's basically the distribution of all the nodes. You can put here your CID, and it will search for it. For the sake of this demonstration, I just already preloaded the page, because yeah, I'm on an island and internet is not so good sometimes. So basically, this is a miner detail page, where you can see these miners, which is, remember, I explained it with a key. You see a key of the miners, and this particular miners is located in Australia, and I have only one node attached to that key, but with pretty cool storage. So that's cool to see where the miner is, what the miner's capacity is. So you can see also the weight and so on of this miner. What's also cool to see, if we click on the details, you can see the details of his nodes. So yeah, we see every detail of his nodes, what he has, what he's used. So we can see some miner uploads some stuff too. It's not because you upload locally to your own IPFS that you will earn incentive or you will be rewarded for that, because you can upload it, cool, but you just fill your disk for nothing. So we can see we pin the miners, we check the file you have, And what we can also see is all the files the miner is holding. We have a little glitch here in the front end where we need to change that, but I said to the team, novelty search, hands off, don't push anything, please. Don't want to break in the presentation. So basically, we can say where the files is, which node is hosting this file. But then when you click on the file, you can have the CID tracker. The CID tracker, each file is an hash. Think about it like when you order something from Amazon, they deliver it by DHL, and you want to know where is my stuff. This is where that things shine. You can see here, we have the nodes, and your file is hosted on 2 nodes. So some have the same location. That's where your file is. And if the file is executed on the miners, you will see a list here where you will see the miners at that moment of time. So yeah, that's basically our first jump on the traceability of the blockchain and why we use blockchain, because it allows us to track everything for that. And it's in the miner profile, the user profile. And yeah, we will go deeper on that with the time, but we are live a bit less than 3 months. We have to put a lot of effort in it everywhere. And yeah, we'll improve that.
Can we see the hippius.com website, and can you show us the product and SDK in action? So
yeah. So here, so to log in, we choose to use a mnemonic. So a seed word. If you use Hippius, just create an account just for Hippius. It's pretty easy. So you do that. You have an account here if you want. We don't send the mnemonic to a centralized server. Everything is there. So that means you just refresh your browser. Nothing is sent and nothing is stored. No local storage. So I will enter my console here with my seed. Hit login. Yoo-hoo. I have my available credits. That's the credits in the chain. Then I can see here, I have my IPFS storage where I already uploaded some files. And this famous hash, let's hope it doesn't break. It's here. And you will be able to see the notes. My indexer is not behind. So basically, yeah, if
Beautiful.
what I have here, you can click to have the slide and see the slide presentation, everything. I uploaded a few video. I will share that after.
What's this
But
down in
that's
the Dubs?
sorry?
Do I see virtual machines on the left? What are you teasing at?
Yeah. It's yeah. I will see it after. I can.
Okay.
But yeah, basically, we want to go over the database stuff, the database world, and we want to offer a virtual machine, not GPUs, but really virtual machine where we can run real application. If you see my mouse is on S3, but S3 allow you to do a lot of cool stuff. Like, for example, you want to have your own Nextcloud hosting your files, but to have your Nextcloud, you need to trust the centralized providers with virtual machine hosting your Nextcloud, linking your S3. So why not make a complete package where you can host your Nextcloud and have your virtual machine? Same, you have your database there with confidential computing and yeah, hosting everything on BitTensor. I think my end goal is Hippius should run on Hippius. That's it. So we also created an S3 storage link. So you can see you can create buckets and so on. How it works is all those accounts are in the chain. So there is no central database behind it. It has some drawbacks, but we use another account with their seed to authorize the access to the bucket. So you basically I can include that and upload, but I think it's more fun to use this tree if I hands on to Vegi, Radu, that could make us a little demo with the SDK and a real S3 interaction like any developer will do.
Yeah, a bit of change of pace now, guys. Hi, my name is Radu, and I've been sorry, I've been just listening to you guys. My voice is crackling. It's like 1 a.m. here. Right, so I'm Radu, aka Veggie. So I'm one of the developers behind the Hippius SDK, CLI, and the S3 integration. So I guess my turn out to show you a couple of neat ways you could, as end users and developers alike, can interact with the Hippius ecosystem. Let me just quickly share screen because I've got the terminal prepared. Oh, 1 second. So let's start with S3 really, because you've been talking about it, Dubs. So can you guys see my ID here?
Yes, we can.
Yep.
Perfect. Is the text visible? Just trying to make it readable for everybody. Cool.
Yes, it is.
Perfect. 1 second. Right. So as Dub said, we are offering an S3 integration for the Hippius network. And what this means basically for anybody wanting to, and I was seeing some people talking in the chat here about plugging in their subnets. This is one really easy way because everybody's comfortable with S3 to be able to just provide your credentials and use an off-the-shelf S3 client. Like for example, I'm in Python here and I'm using Minio, but any language and any S3 compatible client should do the job. You basically have to pass in sub-account seed, the one that Tubbs was talking about earlier. Think of it as an API key to interact with the stream. That's used as the access key, and then we sign the request locally again with the seed phrase, which is kind of done just for the HMAC validation on the S3 client. But that's, I guess, beyond the purpose of this. So I've just prepared basically, if you can see my code, just a bit of AI generated simple Python calls with an S3 client to show you creating a bucket, simple standard Minio client interaction, listing the buckets, putting a file in the bucket, stating the file, and comparing, just for the sake of brevity at the end, just the file hashes to confirm that it's the exact same file. So not much of a demo, but this is mostly just to illustrate that you can, sorry about that. You can literally just go into your source code and just replace the AWS URL with the s3.hippius.com. Yeah, so just for showing you this real quick, I've got a file here, text file prepared. I'm just gonna run the script. It will do some printing. It's nothing impressive. It's just showing that everything works so fine. So I'm creating a new bucket. I'm printing all of the buckets. I have a lot of buckets already. As you can see, I've been testing this before just to make sure everything is fine. So hello novelty search, created a bucket, uploaded the test file, pinned and stored on a Hippius network. And the nice thing here is instead of the E tag you'd usually get from S3, you just get the CID back that is stored on IPFS. So you can then use it with the next tool I'm going to show you in just a second. Yeah, that's pretty much it from S3. I see you fish in the chat. No, this is just for you guys and people who are wearing glasses in the chat. I don't normally type like this. I usually prefer it a bit bigger. Right. I don't think there are probably any questions here to go through. So the next thing I'm going to show you is the other thing. So this is all running in the back, and it's running on our Python SDK that Adam's mentioned. It's available to download, and I'll quickly switch to my terminal real quick, and I'll show you the other spot. All right, screen. Next selection. There we go. All right, we're back with even bigger fonts here. Cool. So the Hippius SDK is Python at the moment. That's what we support. You can easily install it in your virtual environment. UV pip install Hippius. I've already got it set up here. Then you'll get access to the Hippius command. So this is part of the SDK. We've also included a CLI to help users interact. Just basically give them the tools to upload files, download files, do erasure coding, basically ways of interacting with the Hippius IPFS network. There are a lot of commands that I won't bore you with all of them. I'm just going to show you a few quick examples just to get you started. So the first thing you want to do after you install pip install Hippius, you want to do Hippius account login. I've already got it set up here, but it will just walk you through the regular steps of importing your seed phrase and putting it in here. It's going to be saved locally, stored in a hidden file. I've already got it set up, so I don't need to go through this and accidentally leak my seed phrase. Sorry. Right. The next thing we want to do, I've got the file here in my purposely named novelty search demo folder. Just going to show you how to store the file on IPFS, original file. All right, let me just show you what's inside it first. Up. Then I'm going to store the file real quick. Original file. So what this will do under the hood is it will add it to IPFS, pin it, and then also do the substrate call to basically publish it for the miners. I'm gonna have to, my seed phrase is currently encrypted. This is something you're gonna have to do every time you want to do an operation that requires authorization. So I've got the password, put it the seed phrase here. Typed it in. We've got some neat little console magic here. Basically what you're interested at the end, you get the URL to the get Hippius network that it's been published under. You get the CID. You have the command to download the file at the end. This basically leads you through the workflow real quick. It's going to download the file, and I'm going to save it and download the text, whatever. So now we can see that we managed to download the file from the IPFS network. Everything works fine. The other stuff which I suggest you look into, some pretty cool stuff that we mentioned earlier in the talk, is the erasure coding, which does the redundancy check. So if you do Hippius help, there's the erasure code command. You can do a lot of configuration with it. It's easy to play around with. And I guess that's the main takeaway here is that it's really easy to get set up, and we provide multiple ways of interacting with this, with Hippius and S3 and so on. I guess that's it for me, Dubs. If you want to continue with the demo, or have I missed anything? I don't know. What else?
No, it's all good. I think it's okay. Everything you see there is available also in the SDK. So now we do it in CLI, but if you want to build on top of Hippius, you can just go to PyPy and download the SDK and go on. We still have documentation where we need to improve stuff. I gone, but yeah, everything is there. You can build on top of Hippius using the SDK already. JavaScript is coming and offering.
Oh, let me just quickly post a couple of documentation links here for what I've talked about for anybody interested.
I can confirm this does work outside of your demo. I tried it last week.
dubs, and I was able to get incredible upload and download speeds. This is just a small file, but it would be cool for the demo to show people what you can do with large files.
Oh, that's actually a good point. Yeah, let's just create a really big file. I don't know. Stuff like this. Big file. Whatever. So we have a 1 gig file, and this would be also a good example for erasure coding. So basically chunk the file and provide backups on the IPFS network. So Hippius erasure code. Let's just put the file here.
So what is
You
erasure
see the
code?
extension?
What does that mean?
So erasure coding is an algorithm that chunks the files, splits them in multiple chunks, provides redundancy for each chunk. You get by default 5 backups, quote unquote, for the file we're gonna upload. If 2 of them get lost, you can still reconstruct the data from those remaining 3. So it's a bit of like you're ensured by the magic of mathematics, which I don't know exactly how to describe the exact algorithm underneath, but this is what it does. All right, so let me just quickly put in my seed phrase here again. This is really tiresome. So this is gonna take maybe a bit of a while because we're chunking everything. This is done locally, so we're doing it in Python. But we should see this progressing with all the individual chunks that it created, all the backups.
And you wouldn't have to do this if you were just uploading a single file. If you just wanted speed, you could just go and put a large file like this gigabyte file right up there with store, and it wouldn't take this period of time.
Yeah, for sure. This is just I'm trying to showcase both of these big file upload and erasure coding stuff. I'll show you a regular one afterwards with a bigger file, just storing it directly and downloading it again. Right. So took a bit. I put a lot of information here for anybody interested to see how this works. You can reconstruct it like so. 1 second, this is always breaking. I'm starting to feed this terminal a bit. Yeah, sorry about the progress bars. They're a bit of just for vanity right now. I don't think they properly estimate the time. I'm gonna have to fix that.
It's pretty good though.
Yeah, look, it even gets stuck dramatically at 95%.
Typical. It's always that last 1%.
It's always the last 1%, yeah. There we go. So yeah, so let's just say we have the file here again, reconstructed 1 gig file. Yeah, so you're saying earlier doing it, let's just do it the regular store command, Hippius or text big file.
And of course, in the SDK, you wouldn't have to do the seed phrase. You'd have your passwords already inputted into that. And so this is a gig. This is a gig upload.
Yeah.
And what, you're on your local machine?
Yeah, I'm on my MacBook on Wi-Fi right now.
Okay, so this is not a great speed test.
No, it's not really a great speed test. It's just
but it just showcases that it's a robust system that's working.
right. Let's download it again. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it working. It looks like not very dramatic, but I can assure you there was a lot of dramatic work behind making this work.
Yes, yes. It might be lost on some people that don't understand the complexities of the crypto economics, the cryptography itself, the IPFS layer, the sharding, the validators, how this is being passed through, the economics of it, who's paying what, when, where, why, how, and how the miners are being forced to store all these files in one big orchestration. But I mean, it's not lost on me, and it's incredible. It Dubs, but where should we go from here? We're an hour and a half in because this has been such a detailed and, honestly for me, fascinating presentation. But Mog, perhaps you have some prompts for us.
I do. Funny enough. Dubs,
Let
anything
me.
else you want? Yeah, I was going to say, anything else you want to include in the demo
Yeah,
quickly before I...
yeah. I will just share my screen if I can. Thank you very much, Radu, for this demonstration.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
I will just switch, and that's the thing that would lead us to. So you can see on my screen, we have a little stuff here. It's called a referral, and that's the cherry on the cake, where we incentive people to build business on Hippius, because if you share that, you will take a part of the storage the people are using, but other stuff we will release on that. But I'll let the words on Moog for explaining that better than me for the business part.
Yeah, if you can unshare your screen, because I just had a couple. I think we had a couple
Yep.
of slides for this. This preempts the question, which is usually the remaining question that Jacob has at this point, which is, what about the validators and what's their role in this? And let's just see where we are. Hold on a second. Where do we get to? Rewards and referral, you just showed. So as Dubs just showed, there is a reward and referral system. One thing that was slightly skated over, and I was actually surprised Conti didn't pick up on it, was that Dubs said the network pays the miners. In fact, the network pays all participants. Because there's been a lot of time spent refining the incentive mechanism and getting everything to a level where we can start subnet integration and working with people to have real customers singing the praises. Some of the financial dynamics have not been put into places, in that currently you need test credits that you can apply for in the Hippius Discord, but the payment layer is there and ready to be turned on when ready, and it will support alpha payment, tau payment, and fiat payment. And the reason that, and one of the things that we sort of looked at, go on to the slide, is building a business on Hippius. And this is, of course, the older, or the narrative that validators are the access point to network. They are in this instance, but they are not the only access point to extract the value of this commodity. Anyone can build on Hippius and generate a revenue stream. Referrals, I would say, are the first step. Of course, anyone can build a revenue stream from just marketing and referring customers. But of course, you can build a business through referrals. And in order to make this clearer to people, I had a little thought as to how I could demonstrate this. So I reached out to my WordPress team from my old life, my pre-BitTensor life. And one of the things it was one of the questions I asked Dubs to start with. It's something that Ben and I, as ex-WordPress developers, and there are the odd ex-WordPress developer in the ecosystem, which is, can we turn this into a plugin? Obviously, we're very well aware that WordPress powers millions of sites, probably beneath most of the expertise of the people in this room. But it is a very used technology, and one of the issues when developing larger sites is storage costs. Because running WordPress is very easy, you just need a very small virtual machine, but sometimes you end up with clients with extensive libraries, or you just want to offload large amounts of video or data, catalogs, etc. So sometimes offloading the storage to S3 or Dropbox, AWS, or Google Cloud is an option. But I used to work with HIPAA medical clients and things like this who wanted something a little bit encrypted, didn't want their data just sitting on a cloud storage provider. So looking at IPFS was one of those solutions. And it just, if you go into the WordPress plugin directory and try searching for IPFS storage, there aren't really many plugins, none that work very well. And so I reached out to my old development team and said to them, hey guys, will you build us a WordPress plugin? To which they did. It will be deployed very shortly. And this essentially allows usage of the Hippius network to millions of WordPress developers. And what it shows is that the initial business model, of course, as a developer or someone building on it would need to have Hippius credits. And the referrals of obviously the link to get the credits through the plugin would credit the app, the WordPress developers. So by building a product that is free for everybody, where people only pay for what they use, the developers of that product can take a small fee on the usage that they generate for that product. Very basic. This is a basic referral. I don't even think I need to explain the referral fee model. However, they can then build that into a premium service where they actually, as a company, privately, purchase the credits for their customers and resell them as packages. Something that's actually done within the storage network. I've seen this with the AWS and the GCP. You have these storage plugins for WordPress where people say, hey, you can go and open up your own AWS account and your own GCP account, credit your account and use our plugin. Or if you want, you can pay us $9.99 a month and we'll give you 10 gig a month or whatever it is that you need. So it's just one very, very small example. Now, Dubs and I had a little conversation before this because some of the original ideas that were highly likely to be developed, it's going to be a little bit of a tug of war between whether we build them in-house, whether we incentivize third parties to build them, possibly bounties. But we have some a fairly extensive list of products that can be built on here. Obviously, there's a priority to incorporate subnets, first of all, because subnets sing our praises the highest when you can help them out and save them costs within the network. But really, the usage of this extends way beyond the BitTensor network, and the products that can be built on it and the revenue streams that can be opened are for anyone that is building a product that is monetizable, and storage is part of that, quite simply. I wanted to break the record for the longest novelty search, but I don't think it requires anything more than that. And then
maybe the detail launch was longer, but just slightly.
The detail is sorry, no subnet's not. And this, I must say that this subnet, was initially scheduled for launch pre-detail and had a fair old restructure with detail, so it didn't get out in time, and it's taken time to get here. It's been a journey, and I think the journey continues, which is a perfect point to hand back to Dubs, I think, to close out with the roadmap and some closing thoughts. Your Dubs.
Yeah, so thank you. I want to come back to the stage 1 and 2 as we discussed that a lot. But I'm pretty happy personally to have all of that already released. And the RS3 is really a turning point for us because it will be a quick connector. But aside of that, as we work in decentralized stuff, and we want to get people access to what we build, we need a cool UX. And for a cool UX, is like either you use a complete client like Nextcloud if you want, but it's web-based. And if you want to, you have your own stuff, you have your desktop app. And that's the next step we want to do is a desktop app, open source, where you can put on your computer, drag your file, manage everything there. Because everything you see on the demonstration, creating account, managing your buckets and so on, is decentralized, interacting with the chain. And if we interact with the chain, we need a secure way to do it. So the desktop app would be a big point for that and open the doors. we have the billing integration like we speak for the fiat, the tau, and the alpha. The next step would be the high-speed CDN and gateway, where each miner will have to run their own gateway to serve the commodity they host. And the next step after that would be the database and the compute part. But when I say compute, it's mostly the traditional compute for allowing developing maybe other application. But I will not sell too much on that now.
Now, isn't a single
And,
application usage mentioned in that roadmap? Applications will be built by us, by others. There are applications coming. That's all I can say.
Very cool. And there are a number of subnets on BitTensor built with S3 storage as a backbone, and it sounds like you can get even additional transparency on timestamping and ownership if you build on top of Hippius or other storage networks on BitTensor. Can you speak to that a little bit? Like what can we give to BitTensor with building our own storage layer?
You have this transparency with the blockchain where I showed with the Explorer, for example, where you can track your file, where it's your file, where it's hosted. You can really see that your commodity is hosted and you pay for what you use and not for what you don't see. So for people that need timestamp, the blockchain is a perfect gift for that, because a block is a block. It doesn't come back. Well, normally. But I mean, you can track your file when it's uploaded, where it is, and the moment it has been done. And the hash of your file is also unique. So even if you put in IPFS, nobody can alter your file. So that's give the uniqueness of the product, because it's really a lot of solution put together in one, make it easy for everybody to build on top. And also we are really open to any suggestion, any feedback, or any needs, and that's what we try to do. As I said in the beginning of the presentation, make a product that adapt to BitTensor and not adapt a product, adapt BitTensor to user product. So, yeah.
That's a great
Thank you
note
for
to. Thanks. A great note to end the slides on. Correct, Dubs. We stop here, Mog. It was incredible tech. Like, I hope that the audience can appreciate the layers that are being built up to all the way to like an absolutely perfectly usable product that I was using this week. I was storing files. It's fantastic to see, and a shout out to you, Dubs. For the crowd, like Dubs has been working with the OpenTensor team, with Ben and a number of developers at Taustats, shoring up the chain and making things work for a long time. And so it's fantastic to see that you guys have broken into the subnet game as well, and are really taking that level of quality out there in BitTensor. So thanks for coming to the stage, and Novelty Search showcasing that to the community. Veggies for your demo, Mog for a great intro, and everyone for being here tonight. So thanks everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you, Vince. Thank you for the hosting. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.